These songs are so damn catchy. This is right up my alley. What's going on, people? Alex Thorn here, and I'm just a rock and roller who likes to watch movies while wearing a bandana. And I gotta tell you, I remember seeing this VHS cover many times in my youth and my mom and pop video stores. Black Roses. At the time, I was not a rock and roller. I was single digits. I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Was not heavy into rock and roll or any real music yet. It was just whatever my mother played around, our home, blasting it when she was cleaning or something. But I've always known about this movie. What I remember is turning it around after looking at the cover, saying this is a really cool cover, turning it around and saying some of this looks a little silly. As I watched this movie, I saw where the silliness came from. But nonetheless, if you don't know about what Black Roses is about, let me lay it on you right now. A small town teacher saves teenage souls from a heavy metal rocker, Damien, and his band from hell. As you know, as a rock and roll musician that I am, and my music being a lot like the music that's in here, I think the first thing that stuck out to me right away was the singing. How clean this guy's vocals are. How clean his vocals are. And yet it was considered evil. It's amazing to see what these old fogies and all these old ass people who got hot and bothered, as they point out in the movie. The mayor of the movie starts to point out that, like, you got hot and bothered over the Beatles and Elvis and Little Richard and all these people. Like, this is just a new form of that. It's about rebellion, rock and roll. It really does seem like these older women who were all hot and bothered about this rock and roll band coming to their small town and removing the sanctity of the innocence of the children. We're all up in arms over music that sounded like that. Like, if you would fast forward to how nervous they were about that type of music to what would become screamo and all the heavy metal stuff that exists today, that's rah, 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 rah. I can't do that. And when I hear that music, I'm just like, you're killing your vocals, brother. Like, you're not going to be able to. Or now we got chicks who do it. There's women who sing, that screaming stuff now. It's just like, that I'd be nervous about. Maybe I would be considered the old fogey now, because if my kids started listening to that, I'd be like, you better take that shit off before you release something in my house right now, bro. There is a score in this movie, and I'm not talking about the heavy metal hard rock score. That's pretty cool. That's all my stuff right there. But I don't know if there's ever a moment in this movie where there's not soundtrack music playing, and it is the worst of the worst soundtrack music. If you watch TV and made-for-TV movies in the mid-90s, early 2000s, especially the late 90s, oh my God. And you just knew that this was going to be a crappy made-for-TV movie because of the soundtrack music. Real fluty, real just so bad. And there's constantly soundtrack background music happening. And there doesn't need to be. There's even times where there's even times where the hard rock music stops and the next like soft music begins for the soundtrack. Like, bro, let it breathe. Like, fade that shit out. Anyways, see, this is why it's good. I don't think this was marketed as a horror comedy like Once Bitten was, or like Waxwork was. Literally, the back of the box, I think it says horror comedy, or Vamp tried to be a horror comedy. This is just funny because I really do think they were being serious. I don't think they knew that they were going to come off so bad. But nonetheless, the lead actress of this movie, she meets up with the teacher and says, I'm finally here for you. And she goes to, you know what I mean, give him the business. And he smacks her away. And when he smacks her away, all this purple stuff, like the backlights from Gobi, down in the description, by the way, there's a link in the description for 10% off. There's a bunch of purple lights like behind me that go all over her body as she transforms into what literally looks like a bald eagle or a turkey. I was laughing. I couldn't take it. It was awful. At the very tail end of the movie, the news is on. They say, turn it up. The mayor and the teacher are watching it, and they say that this happened, by the way, in another movie, Smile 2, that Black Roses is coming to Madison Square Garden, and they've got like 10 dates at Madison Square Garden. 500,000 people are going to attend, and that's where the movie ends. And basically saying that they're going to possess 500,000 people now in New York, which easily could have led to, you know, Black Roses 2, but it didn't. But what that does lead to is the Does It Hold Up rating system for 1988's Black Roses. So in terms of effects, I'm going to give this movie 3 bandanas out of 5. As corny as they are, there are some good effects, and they're so funny that it's just like the 3 bandanas are not because they're good, it's just they made me laugh. As for acting, I'm gonna give it 3 bandanas out of 5 because the whole movie is cheap, but you start to enjoy this cheesy acting. And as for story, I'm gonna give it 3 bandanas out of 5. It's a cool story, it's fun. You get some beers, some pizza, some boys around you, and it's a good time. So if you're going to ask the question that we have to answer anyways, does 1988's Black Roses hold up? I'm gonna say yes. Yes, because it actually achieves something, which is it has kick-ass music, it has nudity, good-looking nudity, it has cheap effects that'll make you laugh, and it's got some gnarly effects that'll make you go like, ooh, wow. It's a good time. This is a good time. I wish I would have seen this when I was 8 years old, 9 years old, because I would have fell in love with it more than I do now. Do I wish I, had a cleaned up Blu-ray or 4K version of this? Absolutely not. I do not want to see these plastic, prosthetic things any clearer than I did today. But if I ever come across the VHS, will I buy it? Absolutely. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you a fan of Black Roses? Did you see it when it came out? Did you see it in the 90s? Is it one of your favorites now? If you have not seen it, it is actually available where I watched it, which is Peacock. And just use the power of Google to find out where you can watch it, because it may be on your favorite streaming site and you don't know it. And let's say you want to talk about Black Roses. Give me recommendations for more movies. Actually, tell me what to do if you got them. You got to join this channel's memberships. That's right. Thorn Theater has real deal membership laminated cards for all of you Thornaholics out there and horror lovers. Not only that, but you get to request your own reviews. Let's say there's something out there you're really dying for me to review, but the masses may not want it, or it's not something that's gonna move the numbers. Guess what? You pay. You control the narrative. You get early access to videos, live only chats, as well as exclusive watch-alongs just for members right here on this channel. And if you don't feel like committing to that, you can always leave me a super chat, super thanks, or buy me a coffee. Buy me a coffee right now is a way that you can support somebody like me for making videos just for you guys, doing what we love to do. But guess what? If you buy me a coffee, at least you're fueling the journey. And right now, Buy Me a Coffee has an update to where when you leave your note of why you have gifted me coffee, I can respond back to you in video form. And with all that being said, guys, you know what I gotta do. I gotta rock out, watch some movies, and review them for you.